lighting up a fire in Babylon, lighting up a fire in Babylon, lighting up a fire in Babylon tonight. Oh, we're lighting up a fire in Babylon.
Howdy folks, this is Dan Gross for the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight and Three Heads Brewing. Today I'm sitting down with the Thursday resident of April 2019, Mr. Herb Heins. That's right, Three Heads is doing this thing where they have residency shows on Thursday and Friday. So be prepared for an incredible amount of normalness. It's going to be a ton of fun at Three Heads in April. So, Mr. Herb Heins, I know a lot of you guys know Papa Herb here. He has done so much in our music scene. We are sitting in a legendary basement where I think everyone under the Rochester non-existent sun has been in here. Of course, the ROC City Pro Jam, all the projects he's been in, so it's really cool that we're able to sit down with him today. So Herb, thanks for your time, buddy. Really appreciate it.
I'm glad that you're here, Dan. Really glad that you are in the basement with us.
Exactly.
Now I can add your name to the list of subterranean dwellers here.
Is there a place where I can sign? That'd be
A
fun.
sign? You know, years ago I thought about that, but I think the fact that it's not advertised makes it more attractive to people coming here because they know that it's kind of private and you know.
There's not like the weight of like all the other names bearing down on it.
Yeah,
It's just a place where you can come and chat.
Yeah, and people aren't going to show up randomly knowing that you're here. So, you know, I didn't, you know, toot the horn for a long time. So I had thought about having a wall to sign, something like that. But I got a lot of artifacts and a lot of recordings, actually, a lot of recordings.
Yeah, so we'll touch on some of that. But the first question is always the easiest. Are you a Rochester native?
No, I am not a Rochester native.
Where are you from, bud?
I am from Long Island, North Babylon, Long Island, Suffolk County, South Shore by the Robert Moses Beach area.
Do you have the latitude and longitude for me?
Not exactly, no.
Okay.
35 miles from downtown Manhattan. I grew up on Long Island.
Wow.
Yeah, but my mom is actually from Perry, New York, out by Letchworth. So
Yeah.
all my life, even though I was living on Long Island, we'd come up here to visit family in you know, Warsaw, Dansville.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom was born on a kitchen table in Dansville. So
That is a story for another time.
no, but yeah, so Long Island until 1985. So from 60 to 85, I was mainly a Long Islander.
Yeah, and in those times, can you talk to me about like some of your musical influences as you were growing up?
Well, Long Island, I guess it's really down to my best friend's dad was one of the biggest influences, and my grandfather was a musician too. So my dad had a knack for music. So we had a piano in the house. That was great. Dad could noodle around the piano, play a few funny songs, and my grandfather had a banjo, and he had this reputation of playing out in Brooklyn during the Jazz Age.
Yeah.
In 1920s. He had a little band, I guess. My grandmother used to follow his band around.
Nice.
But my best friend's dad actually went to Eastman, and he was a music teacher at Massapequa High School on Long Island. Jerry Seinfeld was one of his students. The Baldwin brothers were students. It was like a high-powered high school music program. So they lived 3 houses around the corner. I used to go over his house all the time, and he exposed us to all of his favorite stuff. He liked Dvorak and Bartok, but Tom Lehrer too, and Stephen Sondheim. But he had no use for rock and roll music. And I actually got a beating for bringing Sgt. Pepper home when I was 10 years old. I got caught with it. Because, back then, rock and roll was like the devil's music.
Right.
And parents were down on it. But my babysitters were hippies, and they used to bring, like, the Rolling Stones records over and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
so I was living in two kind of places, all this classical stuff, and then all the stuff on the radio coming out of New York City. I'd sit there with the radio under my pillow at night and listen to music on AM radio.
Wow.
And it was the top 40, top 100, R&B, blues. It was all that mix-up because it was just whatever was hitting that week.
Yeah, so that's nice. You were able to get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, New York City was the cultural melting pot for me, man.
Yeah, and when did you start playing guitar?
In 77. I got Gilda over there. But I used to, before I got Gilda, I used to swipe my buddy's guitar. He and another friend of mine were already playing, and they were starting to play Beatles songs, and I started writing music, but I didn't know how to play music. I was writing songs. So my buddy was playing guitar, and he'd play the chords, and I said, I can do that. I think I can do that. So I started, can I borrow your guitar? And then like 3 months later, I'd still have the guitar at my house. And I got my own guitar when I was 17, and
Wow.
so what, 1977 to now.
Yeah. And ever since then, you've been shredding and singing for us.
Yeah, you're trying. I'm gonna get it someday. I'm convinced it's so close.
All it takes is the effort, my friend. Tell me about the first band you were in.
Really, the first official band was the Turbines. I had one band in college called The Rest. We played one gig. It was just more of a party than a band. And then when I was in high school, when we were learning how to play, we just played in my basement. We called ourselves the Gnomes. but we never played anywhere other than my basement.
Yeah.
So really, it wasn't until I moved up to Rochester in '85 when we started a band, called it Visual Cliff. That name bombed. We went and recorded a demo, that bombed, and then we got I said we need a singer and a better name.
Those two things are pretty important.
Yeah, so we got a really great singer, and then my one buddy remembered from college, somebody said we should call a band Herb Heins and the Turbines, and as soon as he said that, I was cringing, and everybody else says, yeah, let's call it that, sure.
I know we got a good reaction from Johnny the Rockin' Nixon over there when Herb Heins and the Turbines.
So that was it. That was really the first serious band I had was when I moved up here in '85.
Very cool. Yeah. And one thing you're so known for in this town is the ROC City Pro Jam. How'd you get involved with it? First of all, tell us about it for someone out there who might not know.
Well, the ROC City Pro Jam really came out of an organic thing. I had a friend of mine bartending at the Keg, where the Buddha Pub is now. So it's dead on Friday night. So he tells the owner, Ed Schramm, hey, we got a band. He comes back over to the house. He goes, we got a gig. I said, well, how do we have a gig? We don't have a band. Oh, don't worry, we're going to find the band. So we go down there on a Friday night, me and my bass player buddy and my friend Scat, the bartender drummer, and we played 3 hours of just jamming on shit. And we've been playing together for about 4 years, backing up other people like a rhythm section, so we knew some tunes.
Right.
Then we met Lou Spezio up the block. He came down the next Friday. And then they said, well, you want to book shows here at the Keg? Sure. So they gave me Thursday and Friday nights to book shows. So I didn't know, I started just booking anybody that would play for $75 and 3 pitchers of beer. And that's how I met Teresa Wilcox, and I met Chris English and Audio Influx, and Mosaic Foundation, and Subsoil, and 8 million other people. So Chris and I were talking about stuff to do, and we didn't have bands. He goes, well, why don't we throw a pro jam? So we got Tuesday nights. At one point, I had Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at the Keg that I was responsible for booking, and we started throwing the pro jams there. And Chris had done pro jams down in North Carolina, and he knew how to network musicians, and I knew how to do logistics. And we basically used to pack up 90% of this basement and bring it down to the Keg every week.
That's a schlep.
Yeah, and that's how we started networking everybody.
Yeah.
And when the Keg started tailing off, we got over to Abilene. We had a great run at Abilene for a couple of years. Then we needed to take a break. Then we came back. I think we were at Richmond's. We were at Skylark. We did a couple out at Loving Cup. And then we ended up back at Buddha Pub actually with the last run of them before we finally gave up the ghost. But it was really where I first met Chris. I met Dan Keller, and we started networking, and all these things just started happening. And Teresa, and then I always were friends with Bob Bunce.
Bob Bunce is a great guy.
So I always networked into that kind of scene. So I just started booking all the people that I'd ever met and known, and they didn't know each other. So Southern Tea people are coming up and playing with City folks, and people that are in the kind of like funk reggae scene are playing with rock and rollers, and it was fun. It was I call it a musician's mixer.
That's good. And looking back on it, like, how does that make you feel that like you were able to connect so many musicians and you're such an integral and central part of the growing scene at the time?
Yeah, people pointed out to me. For me, the thing about music was always friendship. It was something that I always had a couple of good friends, and when it struck me, there's that. You write a book, you do it by yourself. You paint a picture, you do it by yourself. But music's like a community art, and I'm always been somebody who likes to have a community of people that are doing something interesting or creative. And for me, it's always been, the more the merrier. Let's invite everybody to the party. Because everybody brings something interesting to the table, something maybe you didn't think of before. And as somebody that likes to write and compose, I want new experiences all the time musically. And that's how I learn. So it's kind of a selfish thing for me. I want to meet everybody and jam with everybody and steal all your great ideas, and then I'm going to write some songs with them.
I was going to say, what's that line? Good artists copy, great ones steal.
Yeah, Frank DeBlaze told me that, and I don't know where he got it from. But
hey, you know what? I'll take. If I'm quoting Frank DeBlaze, I think I'll be fine with that.
I'm an honest thief, but no, seriously, it was about community.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we need each other. If this town's going to be an arts community, and it's going to be a vibrant place, and the musicians knowing each other, communicating, coordinating, networking, standing up for each other, backing each other up. Looking out for each other and helping to have kind of a, if I had it my way, I'd have a guild. I'd have a guild house,
Nice.
I'd have, I'd turn the whole German house into like the musicians' guild hall and retirement home. But
led by Papa Herb.
Yeah, well, and a few other people. I couldn't do it alone. I mean, Chris English has been a huge help. Matt Rarman's been a huge help. The Spezios, when we got them back, I mean, those guys were in the greatest party band of the 70s and 80s in the region, from Quebec to Florida all the way out to Detroit. They had a 4-piece horn section. They had 3 male black singers. They played James Brown and all this super funky music. Nobody even knows about that legacy with those guys.
Yeah.
But so to have them, that generation, connect with like the 25-year-old people, like
I was going to say all
that are
3
out there
members
coming out,
working on this,
who listen to your parents' record collections for some reason.
There we go, man. It's a really cool thing. Well, let's kick it into your 4 weeks of Thursday residency shows. First one, you have 4. So the first one, you're calling Rubber Revolver. Might be obvious to some. This is a Beatles show. Tell us about it.
So I'm doing this chronologically, and the first thing I learned on the guitar was to play Day Tripper. I was agonizing over it. So me and my buddies were Beatles fans. Our babysitters were Beatles fans. For me, the Beatles were the first example of some regular guys who couldn't, play their instruments like geniuses, but had this genius for writing and inventing things. And I was like, well, if they can do it, we can do it. So for me, that's where it really started. The idea to be a songwriter, to be a musician, was in getting to know who the Beatles were and playing their music, and falling asleep at night with an 8-track on in the headphones of the White Album, and it just loops all night long.
Right.
So that's where Rubber Revolver. I think those albums were the ones that really turned the corner for the Beatles. They weren't a boy band anymore.
Right.
They weren't people's puppets. Brian Epstein was fading out of the picture, and they were coming into their own. So that's why I like those albums particularly.
Yeah, and tell us who's playing on that.
So I got my 2 best friends in life, Jeff Bazarian from North Babylon, Long Island, and Kevin Frisch from North Babylon, Long Island. Those are the guys that I refer to as the people that taught me how to play. So they're on, Kevin's bass player, vocalist, Jeff's guitar and vocalist. I got Alan Murphy playing keys, Brendan Caroselli playing drums, Kurt Johnson on special effects guitar. I got, let's see, so far I got Don Cristiano and Rita Coulter singing. Tom Mahoney from Into the Now is going to do some songs.
And Grand Canyon Rex.
Bry Guy, from Grand Canyon. Bry Guy from Honey Smugglers is going to sing a couple songs. My friend Hannah Brown. Teresa Wilcox is on deck to sing some songs. Chris Schramm.
Yes.
So
Oh
if
my
I'm leaving
goodness.
anybody out, I still got some people I'm working out the details, but we're going to have a pile of guests to sing the songs.
That is a pile, and we're featuring a bunch of previous Rochester residents as well. Alan Murphy just wrapped up an awesome month of February. Kurt Johnson was last May, coming up this May as well. Brian McDonald, awesome in December 2018. So we have a lot of great things for that. And the other thing we should probably mention, don't all these shows have a charity that you're giving to as well?
Yeah, we're still organizing that. I got a list of charities. Food Link's going to be one of them. Homes for the Homeless will be one of them. And I have 2 others that we're just working out some details on. But each will have a charity. I'm planning on donating 33% of the profits of every show to each of those charities from that particular show. So just as a way of saying thank you to the community. And just making people aware of some of the good work that these organizations do in town. So
Beautiful, and I'm sure you can find details on that in each Facebook event as well.
Yeah, I'll be updating all of this along the way.
Right.
If anybody wants to be my administrative assistant for free, I'm taking applications.
Right, he'll pay you in community goodwill.
An amanuensis. I need an amanuensis.
Exactly. And then for the 11th, Herb Heins, the Turbines. Who's playing on this?
Well, it's Kevin and Jeff again. Surprise, surprise.
Right.
And our original drummer, Jerry Schaefer, who's the first local guy that we worked with here in Rochester. He's from Scottsville. He's the drummer. Kevin on bass, Jeff on guitar, and then we have our dear friend Mike Hauser, who just turned 67 in October, is our lead singer. And he was the local guy that really helped us get into the local scene, because he had been in the alternative music scene through the 70s and 80s. Bands like Blank Frank, Cappy and the French, when they were playing Scourges, Idols. And he worked for the Stagehands Union as well, Local 25, IATSE. Big shout out to IATSE. Working as a part-time stagehand, put food on my table many of a night, and it also gave us a lot of connections in the community in terms of gigs, resources, and Mike is just a phenomenal singer, and brought our songs to life. And that's when we became the Turbines, is when we got Mike.
And this is the re-release of the album Napalm
Napalm Sunday, recorded live in the studio, SoundQuest Studios, Webster, New York. We rehearsed for 7 weeks, 2-3 times a week, and then we went in and we played 19 songs.
Holy moly.
With no overdubs, no breaks, just played them, sang them, recorded them, and now you'll get to hear them.
That's a beautiful thing. Cannot wait for that to happen. Next week, April 18th, HBT.
Yep.
Want to make sure we got that. So that is Herb, Bob Bunce, and Teresa Wilcox,
Yep.
all of whom we have mentioned before. So, I mean, you've mentioned why those two people are integral, but the thing that's happening with that is it's Bob Bunce Band is coming in. So
Yep.
Bob Bunce Band, that's obviously Bob, Gary Holt, Zach Mendoza, Don Cristiano, Rita Coulter, and we'll see about and Herb, of course, is sitting in as well,
Yeah.
and we'll see about Joe Dady. We know he's
Bob just sent me a text today saying Joe's not going to be able to attend the show. So
yeah, and we understand, Joe. We wish you all the best to get better soon, my friend.
Our prayers and our meditations for Joe's continuing recovery.
Absolutely. And then for Teresa Wilcox, it's Nate Coffey, Chris English, and yourself. Oh my goodness, that is going to be a huge show.
Yeah.
So why did you want to make sure that it was like the Bob Bunce Band and then Teresa Wilcox? Why did you want to do that?
It's just they're the two singer-songwriters that I have worked the most with and collaborated the most with in all my time here in Rochester. And Bob was like a role model, still is a role model for me, the way he lives his life, the way he does his music. You know, I mean, Bob has been just a huge help to me. He's helped me out in every way a friend can help a friend out. He's been there for me time and time again. And he writes songs that just talk about real things and real people. And he does that deceptive thing of writing a song that seems simple, but it is amazingly difficult to do that simple thing, to put those thoughts, those feelings, those ideas together in a really accessible way. And Bob can write a crazy song too, don't get me wrong, but Bob really digs into the roots rock Americana part of his career right now with rural delivery, and he's just been a huge influence ever since I met him. The Dada Society, the whole psychedelic Southern tier scene. I mean, the craziness that's out in Geneseo and the woods of Lima and Pollywog Holler and Danceville, I mean, it is not to be believed. Swain. So Bob, just like I said, we had bands together. We did a lot of one-off kind of shows together, recorded together, wrote together. Great guy, and everybody connected with Bob that I've ever met has been great people, and he's a hero. He went down to New Orleans after Katrina. He's a master electrician, and he lived in a FEMA camp for a year in the 9th Ward, repairing the electrical services to people's houses as a volunteer. And while he's there, he bought a digital camera, took 6,000 pictures, and he had a photo show at Geneseo College.
Wow.
Of the photos he took. He's got a great eye. And that painting up in my living room, that's his painting. He decided to start painting one day, and he starts painting like Jackson Pollock. So Bob, amazing. And
I was going to say, that seems totally fair.
Yeah, and then Teresa, you know, again, just a huge hero and role model for me, somebody that's just trying to make her way in the world, doing her music her way. And she just writes songs that stick in my head from the moment I hear them. They live with me. And again, just somebody that's there for me on every level as a friend, my neighbor right now. It's just when we play music together, it just goes so easily. It's like we just seem to be made out of the same genetic material when it comes to music. And her work is just so moving for me. And her songs, they translate, whether it's an acoustic setting or you have a full band. Her songs are always amazing, and that's incredible to me. And she sings them beautifully. Plays guitar. You ought to hear her play drums too. She's a sick drummer.
Well, wait, you never know. We might be able to see that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That'd be fun.
So there's that.
And the final week, the Almighty Vibration, combination of the Almighties and Soul Vibration CD release show as well, by the way.
Yep, exactly.
Tell us about this, my friend.
Well, the CD, the album is called One Time. Soul Vibration Band came out of the Almighties, actually. The Almighties kind of are what started up the whole Pro Jam thing.
Right.
So the Almighties were the Spezio brothers I mentioned before,
Yep.
my friend Scatman, my friend Kevin Frisch, myself. And it was like this progressive funk, Zappa, weird band. I mean, it was just amazing. But it was the first time I was in a situation where 5 people collaboratively wrote music. There was no beginning or end to who started or finished an idea. It was really a very natural flow of ideas, and we created a really interesting body of work. We weren't able to stay together for very long. It was a tough slog for a lot of people in the band. Those years were hard times for a few of my friends. But out of that band, I had started writing songs again, and I recorded an acoustic album at Green Room with Matt Rammerman. And then I started wanting to play those songs out, and I started, you know, well, like I said, I always like having other people. And then Chris English was sitting up there one day, why do you keep putting all these bands together? Why don't you just start a band? And Dave Burness, my friend, had said something the same thing. So I said, okay, I'll start a band. And originally called Got Herb, which got me in trouble.
I can't possibly imagine
as a school
why.
teacher. No, I asked for, I told them, and they said, oh yeah, fine, it's your name, it's fine. Then the superintendent heard about it, said it's a drug reference, and I said, okay. So, Papa Herb and the Soul Vibration.
Exactly.
Much more user-friendly.
Yes.
Rated G. But it was, again, the Spezios, Chris Meeker on bass. He was actually the first member of the Soul Vibration.
I was going to say, if there's anything prog, it's probably Chris Meeker.
Brendan Caroselli,
Yep.
Michael Van Munster, and they took some of the songs from my acoustic album and a bunch of other tunes I wrote, and we got about 19 songs up and running. Again, the project as a live project was having a lot of trouble, so we turned it into an album project, and I spent the better part of the last year and a half recording 10 songs with these guys and a lot of guests. And it is hands down the finest music I've ever been a part of making. It is the best representation of my songs, and I cannot say enough for my friends, the guys that are in the Soul Vibration. I love all of you. You guys are amazing. Their hearts and souls are in this record. We have 110 gigs of recorded tracks to put this thing together, and
That's a lot.
It's just a beautiful thing. So my hat's off to all of you guys, and I got special guests, Ahaya Roll, Chris English, my roommate upstairs, Mohammed Jabi from Guinea, West Africa. He's a master drummer and dance instructor, so he's on some of the tracks. Ian Sherman's playing keyboards. Michael Corey's playing bass on one of the tracks. So
My goodness,
we got the
that's a
community.
lot of big names there.
So I'm excited to have the album out. It's called One Time, and
it's going to be a party, my friend.
yeah, I said it twice, but it's just one time.
That's it. That's the joke, man. All right, an incredible month of shows.
Yeah, I'm so psyched.
Happening on Thursday. So remember, this is the Thursday residency.
Thursdays, yep.
Let's just go down the line, make sure we got them. Week 1, that's April 4th. Rubber Revolver. Week 2, April 11th, Herb Heins and the Turbines. Week 3 on the 18th, HBT. It's featuring Herb, Bob Bunce, and Teresa Wilcox. And then finally, the almighty Vibration. Well, that just about does it for this installment of the Rochester Indie Musician Spotlight with Three Heads Brewing. Dan Gross, Herb Heins, we hope to see you every Thursday at Three Heads Brewing.
Are we born to serve, or are we born to learn? Some say, oh, you get what you deserve. Respect is something earned. Can it be all some random blast? Maybe it's that master plan. All I know, it's a choice we make if we leave our lives to fate. And love, oh, it's the hardest need. And love, oh, it's got to conquer greed. And love, gonna help you heal and breathe. Love, 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 it's always more than you believe, always more than you believe. Oh, it's more than you believe, more than you believe. Yes, it's more than you believe. Expecting truth, I give you trust, as love will bend and love will rust. Let me see promise in your eyes. Let me hear the truth between the lines. And love, oh, it's the hardest need. And love, it's got to conquer greed. Oh, and love,
It's got to conquer greed and love.